Hey friends, how are you? We're back again. Guess who's back? Back again. Chrissy's back. Hello guys. I'm here. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Chrissy Clark. I am the host of Underreported Stories, which is a show on Rumble. It's 5 stories that if you turned into CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, you would not really hear about. And I am just a good friend of Isabel's and here to take over her stream while she enjoys her honeymoon. Um, if you guys haven't been following her on social media, she's been posting a ton of stuff about her wedding. I saw her first look with her dad today, y'all. If you have not seen that, stop. My heart could melt. My heart could melt. It's amazing. So, very happy for Isabel. If you guys, again, have not already checked it out, I believe you could just go in the links in the description. You can find it on TikTok. You can find it on Instagram. She's so happy to be married and she really misses you guys. But, I think she's enjoying her honeymoon too. So I'm going to fill in for her for the rest of this week and next week. I'm on back tomorrow. We'll be back streaming again tomorrow. And then I'll be back for the week of the 8th to the 12th as well. I'll be filling in. Our streams will usually be around 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Might make some exceptions. We'll see. We're going to play along. Okay. Bear with me. I'm not used to this whole live streaming thing. Also, Isabel said she's very excited. She'll be back the week of the 15th. And that is super exciting because that is the RNC. Okay. That is when we're going to know who the vice presidential nominee is. That's when we're going to see Trump get nominated. It is going to be a very big week. And I know she's very excited to be back there with you guys for it. She'll be back on the screen there. All right. Let's get into some things. So, again, you kind of know a little bit more about me, that I run Underreported Stories and all of that. But I do want to let you guys know that I'm a little tired because last week I was in Israel for the entire week. And I have a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. And I'm just warning you that nothing will be graphic in today's stream. Of course not. And I'm going to try and keep it as lighthearted as I can. I'm going to do my level best. But I saw some pretty horrific things. I went to Israel and I went down to what's known as the Gaza envelope. So it's the area kind of around the Gaza Strip, which is controlled by what now is called Palestinians, but really mostly is controlled and occupied by terrorists in the region. And we went down there and we saw the sites of what happened on October 7th. And so I want to run through some of that. I also want to talk about the cool parts of Israel. Going to Jerusalem, going to see the city of David, the beauty of Tel Aviv, the resilience of the people. We're going to talk about it all. With that being said, this is a very tricky subject for many. And when I talk about Israel, I want to be super clear that there is no question about my allegiance to America. I'm going to make some comments likely about my thoughts about Israel and blah, blah, blah. I am first and foremost an American. Technically, I was born in Canada, but my allegiance will always be with America, except for hockey. That's the only exception, okay? But I love America. I'm not here to prioritize Israel over America. None of that stuff. I just went there and I want to tell you what I saw. So, with that being said, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have really intricate Middle East foreign policy questions, drop them in the chat. I will do my level best to answer them. I can't promise I'm going to be perfect. I'm no Middle East expert. Even Middle East experts say that they're not Middle East experts. It's really difficult, but I am going to do my level best to give you just the best understanding of what I saw, what we saw collectively as a group, and what I think about the conflict in general and everything. But before we get into that, I need to let you know that today's show is sponsored by Public Square. If y'all haven't already heard about Public Square, it is a hub of over 100,000 businesses that are pro-faith, pro-freedom, and pro-family. Love it. If you want to support this show and sweet Miss Isabel, be sure to head over to publicsquare.com. That is publicsquare.com. Go check out their businesses. I buy so much from Public Square. I don't even just say that as an ad read. I really love shopping my values. I now buy my deodorant from there. I've tried makeup products from there. I can't even count. Coffee. Oh my gosh. There's so many great businesses over there. So be sure to head over there. All right. Let's get into it. Like I said, oh, whoa, that's so cool. These little reactions on the screen. With that being said, let's get into the gist of what I want to talk about today. So there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of things. If you tuned into the stream yesterday, you'll know not the best with this technology. I'm still learning it. It's not the same as what I'm used to. So bear with me. But I did pull up some pictures and I just kind of want to take you through what I saw. So let's start with I'll kind of go day by day through my time in Israel. So first day was definitely the heaviest day. And that's how we're going to do this. We're going to go from the heaviest stuff to the lightest stuff. We'll end the stream on a happy note. Okay, cool. I hope we're all on the same page. So the first day that we got there, I guess I should try to explain what a kibbutz is, because I'm going to say this word a lot. Kibbutz. I don't know why it kind of reminds me of a train, but they're essentially as close as you can get to a commune, but also kind of capitalistic communes. They're weird. So they're basically villages where everybody in the village, they all work for one company. So for instance, I was in what was called kibbutz, so village, kibbutz beret. And kibbutz beret, they all, I believe, work at some sort of printing manufacturing company. And every family that works in the village and works for the village, they all kind of communally work at this organization. They all get like the same salary. They all kind of vote on whatever. Like if somebody wants to leave the business and leave the village, everybody's got to vote on this stuff. It's a commune, but it's also capitalistic, and it's the most left-wing portion of Israel. But that's not saying much, because the lefties of Israel are kind of more akin to like RFK, not RFK, JFK liberals. There's not a huge political polarization, I'll say, like we see here in America. So we went to Kibbutz Beret, and this is where honestly the atrocities of October 7th took place, among many other places. And I'll get into the music festival that we've all seen on the internet about what happened. And so anyway, we go to the kibbutz, and so I'll just show you guys. Let me pull up my screen for you. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can do this. Yes. Okay. So this is Kibbutz Beret as we know it right now. So this is, it's so hard to talk about. And I'm really sorry for hitting my mic. I'm really sorry if I ever get emotional. I'm really trying not to. It's just I saw a lot. So this is one of the houses that was attacked. And as you can see, it's just like rubble on the bottom. But if you walked in, if you've ever been in like a nice part of Florida, that was kind of the vibe that we got when we walked in here. It's very nice. You could tell it was kind of like the more ritzier area of Israel. And we came in, and this is kind of what the houses looked like. And so the first house that we went to was this house. It says, in this house lived Vivian Silver, who was brutally murdered in the Hamas terror attacks on October 7th. So as you can see here, part of my friend Lou's foot, this is like all the rubble from the rooftop. And this is hard to talk about, but we need to talk about it because we need to know what was happening on this day. Vivian Silver was a Canadian Israeli activist, and she's a wonderful human rights activist who worked with people in Gaza, and she was an activist for people who hated her. And every house, you can kind of see this window right here that I'm pointing to or circling with my mouse. This is Vivian's safe room. So every house in, I believe in the kibbutz area, I don't know about all of Israel, but at least in the southern part of the country, they are required to have what is known as safe rooms. And these are rooms where you can kind of hide in there, and they're meant more so for bombs, because not even bombs, rockets that are kind of shot in. And so when people heard about, something kind of going on at the border, everyone just assumed, oh, it was a safe room, get in your safe room. It's just rockets. And so Vivian, like many others, went into her safe room. And we don't need to see this. I'll pull up the video. And so Vivian goes into her safe room, and what happened was that these terrorists came into the kibbutz. They got in, and they knew that people were going to be hiding in their safe rooms. And so what they did was they would find the ambulances and the armories in the kibbutz, which is where everybody has their gun and where all the medical equipment is. And the terrorists would go and they would shoot the tires of an ambulance. They would steal medical equipment. They would make sure that no one could get help. And they would proceed to find the safe rooms because they knew that's where people were hiding. And so people thought that they were doing the right thing by following protocol, when in actuality it was a death sentence. Not that anyone was safe, but the people who went in their safe rooms were specifically under attack. And again, this might be a little hard to watch, but let me pull this up. I hope you guys can see this. I'm sorry, I keep saying it's really hard to watch this. This is the inside of Vivian's home. Not only did these terrorists go in and kill people in a manner that is so gruesome that I wish I could unsee, but after they were done, they would burn the houses. And this is the inside of Vivian's home. It's very hard to see. As you can see, everything's burned to a crisp. If you listen again, I'll kind of rewind it so you can just listen. I'll shut up. You can hear you can see pottery, you can see appliances, and you can kind of hear the crunch of just the rubble under our feet. And again, this is somebody's home. Terrorists came in and did this, and there are people out there who deny that this happened. But I saw it for myself, and I can promise you there's no denying that this is exactly what happened. That is what terrorists did to people in Israel indiscriminately. And so after we left Vivian's house, let me pull up this next home for y'all. After we went to Vivian's house, we then went to this home. It was another home in Kibbutz Be'eri, and this is a better picture. This is these are a bunch of hostages and victims. So some of them were, I believe this woman and her child were held hostage in Gaza for 50 days and released. As was this little girl, and as was this woman. This guy, I believe his name is Tel, is still in Gaza. 280 days later, he was taken from his home and still there. And what I thought was really the coolest thing, you kind of see this girl with the red hair. I'm trying to see if I can move the picture. She was so amazing, this girl. You can see this tiny right here, this tiny little tattoo on her. This is her aunt and uncle's house right back here. And they were both murdered on October 7th. And these little tiles are what's tattooed on her to always remember where she came from and just to always remember everything that happened. And she was able to give us an entire tour of everything that went on. She showed us her family's house destroyed like that. She showed us her everything, and she did not cry once, okay? Y'all, I was in tears during all of this. It was so hard to watch. Like, how do you watch this, right? Gosh, it broke my heart in so many ways, and yet she did not so much as wince. And it's one thing I really want to talk about is just, again, I want to come at this from a place of, I love America, okay? I'm not saying this as like Americans are the worst or they're weak or whatever. The amount of resilience that Israelis have in comparison to Americans is mind-boggling. We are so worried about pronouns and the most ridiculous things, crying, not that you and I are, but there are people out there who cry about pronouns and cry about being misgendered. And then there's this girl, I want to say her name was Allah, and she was just not even crying while walking through her childhood home where her family was murdered. There's just a difference between people like that and people in America. There's a huge difference. And I don't know how we even compare this. It's just mind-boggling to me. And I see there's a question from Frostfang7 that says, does the IDF know how long they had been planning or finding a less guarded point to launch this attack? We talked with a lot of high-level, not even IDF officials, but high-level government officials. It was a really cool part of what I experienced when I went to Israel is we got to talk to essentially, like, they don't have a vice president, but if they did, we got to talk to him. It was a really cool experience. And the IDF, they did not really know that this was going to happen. It was on a holiday, like a Jewish holiday that this took place, which is not, seemingly, how do I put it? It's not a surprise. They weren't surprised, but it did catch everybody off guard. I don't know if they knew that there were plans. My understanding is that if they thought there was plans and the intel that they know that they wouldn't share with us, they thought it was going to come from the north, from Hezbollah. They did not anticipate it was going to come from the south. So that's kind of why that was a little jumbled. Red 4 said, from my understanding, the IDF was taken by surprise because Hamas relied on messengers to coordinate these attacks rather than the means that they knew the IDF would intercept. I'm actually not 1,000% positive on whether that is true or not. I just know that there are a lot of security concerns that Israel should have. And one of my biggest takeaways, and this is definitely a criticism of Israel right now, is they are too freaking nice, okay? They have people try to murder them, bomb them, destroy them, wipe them off the planet, and they're good faith actors, generally speaking. If anything equivalent to October 7th happened in America, like if Mexico did that, the entire country of Mexico would be gone. That is not what's happening. There's, I believe, I forget the exact statistic, but on average, I do remember it. For every one terrorist on average in war, it causes 9 civilian casualties. The way the IDF fights right now, it's one terrorist for 3, so 4 people in total. One terrorist, 3 civilians, which is crazy. And they fight that way because they're held to a higher moral standard and they want to be held to a higher moral standard in some sense. But it is very fascinating the way I was watching everything. I'm like, you guys, come on, they hate you. Why are you being so nice to them? And I get it. You don't want innocent people to die. I'm not advocating for innocent people to die at all. But it was just interesting how nice the Israelis are. They're so nice to people that freaking hate their guts. And anyway, okay, I want to move on to the Nova Music. Oh no, one more thing. This is another really important fact that we should talk about because, again, I feel like my job here is to just dispel some of the myths about what's going on. So, can I zoom in on this? Let's see. No, I can't. But I just want to bring your attention to like this box. Okay, so we were looking at this, and on all the houses in this Kibbutz Be'eri, before we move on to the next thing I saw, in Kibbutz Be'eri, what we saw was houses that would say numbers, circles. There were just like weird graphics on there, and each one meant something. Some of them meant there was a body found here, or this house has been completely cleared, or this house has got this meaning or that meaning, or this is how many people passed away. There's just information on all of it. This was the only house I saw that had Arabic written on it. And I cannot read Arabic, so I cannot confirm this. But what I was told from an IDF spokeswoman is that it was kind of like graffitiing "I was here" on a house. It was something that the Hamas terrorists were proud of. They wanted to let people know, I was here, I overtook this house, blah, blah, blah. So that's the last thing I want to show you about Kibbutz Be'eri. From here, I want to move on to the Nova Music Festival site, which I'm assuming you guys know somewhat about because it was very, very popular. It's kind of like a Lollapalooza of Israel. And so we got to go to this site, and while we were at the site, we got to talk to somebody who lived through the attack. He was a massagist. Is that what? That's certainly not what you call people that do that. He was giving like therapeutic massages at this music festival, and he lived through the attack. One of his friends is in Gaza to this day. Another one of his friends was unfortunately no longer with us. But it was very, very powerful to see what I saw at the Nova Music Festival, and I do want to share it with you guys because I think it's important that we see this stuff. Yeah, I think it's really, really important that we see this because this these are the faces of people. Isabel and I are young, right? Y'all follow us because we're Gen Z, we're fun, we're young. We're old compared to these people. These girls and guys were 22, 23, 24. I know we have a lot of parents out there in the audience. These are kids. And they lost their lives at a music festival solely for being Jewish or allying with Israel and being in the country. And this is a really important video to watch. Again, it's not graphic, it's just really sad. This is the memorial that I went to, and it's just really sad. Look at all of these. When you look out into it, all of these are different grave sites. And I mean, look how young he looks, like he would be a friend. You know? Gosh, it's just so sad. Look at how many graves there are, okay? Don't look away. It's really important to see this. It's really important to show you guys this. It's really important to show the world this. This is what happened. Terrorists came in because they hate Jews and they murdered people senselessly. That's what happened, okay? And it's so important that we talk about that. Anyway, I see another comment saying that the statistic is 1 to 1.5. Yeah, like I said, I'm not 1,000% on that statistic, so I just know it's around that. But anyway, I'm going to get to the heaviest part now, and then we're going to move on. We're going to get happier from here, okay? The hardest thing I saw that I can't get out of my head, and I'm not going to cry, I'm trying my best not to cry, was this film called Bearing Witness. And it is 40 minutes of footage attached to Hamas terrorists, videos from victims' cell phones, and CCTV cameras. And it shows some of the biggest atrocities. And I'm trying not to cry. It was so hard to see. And I was the only girl on this trip, I should add. And so I went into a room and I just felt like for all of womankind, I could not look away because I couldn't be the only one that walked out. I couldn't do it. I had to sit there. I had to watch it. I had to be like the voice of this for women. If someone was going to do it, like, I guess it was going to be me. God tapped me that day and put me in this position and I had to do it. But watching 40 minutes of raw footage of some of the most horrible atrocities ever committed against human beings is something that's going to take a long time to recover from. So I am going to open the floor to questions. If you guys do have questions about this, sorry. It was so hard to see. Thanks, guys. I see you in the comments. It's one of the most emotional things I've ever been through. And I was just a bystander, you know? So it irks me. It really gets me upset and sad when people say that this didn't happen or this wasn't real. This was super real. It was so real. People died. Just mercilessly. I saw dogs. I saw kids, adults alike. Again, I really apologize. I feel like Rachel Maddow crying about the election, but it's so much more serious than that. Again, if you have questions about what I saw, I'm happy to go through it. But it's so hard. It's so sad. And just, if I could take anything away from this, if you could do one thing for me, Just believe what the people of October 7th are saying and stand with Israel. I'm not asking you to give them money. I'm not asking you to be pro-war. I'm not asking you to be in favor of the US granting military aid or whatever. I'm not asking for any of that. Just believe them when they say what happened to them is crazy and all they want to do is fight back against this. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, get my shit together, Carol. Again, apologies for the tears. They come from a place of just deep pain, from what I saw. Okay, let's get into some of the happier stuff. Again, I'm gonna stop apologizing, but we need to talk about those things. All right, let's talk about the prettiest place I got to go. Huge 180. Let's talk about Jerusalem. Because I did not know so much of this, and if y'all are history geeks, you're gonna love this next part about what I want to talk about. It's really, really cool because, like, when you go to Jerusalem, because it's just all these different cultures mixed into one. So I think there's been, if you guys watch Candace Owens at all, she did a video about how there's like 4 quarters of Israel or of Jerusalem and how they're all segregated. They're not segregated at all. Like you can walk 1 quarter to the other. There's only one place that Christians and Jews cannot go. It's occupied and or run by, however you want to say it, Hamas or not Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, Palestine. They occupy what is the holiest site in both Judaism and Christianity. It's called the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They occupy that. That is their territory. They do not let Christians in. They do not let Jews in. And if you are allowed in, you have to go with like a bunch of security guards and you can't move your lips because you can't pray there, which is craziness. So that is the only thing that's segregated in Jerusalem. Other than that, you can kind of roam around. There's 4 quarters, okay? There's the Armenian quarter, the Christian quarter, the Jewish quarter, and the Muslim quarter. And they're just different sections, but you can roam freely through all of them. It's really cool. I've actually been to Jerusalem before, so this wasn't my first foray into it, but it's really just such a cool city where all the different parts of history kind of come together into one. And it is really crazy to see how people can actually live together quite well in the city of Jerusalem where there are boundaries and everyone's kind of bound to the same standards and morals, kind of. And it is a fascinating place to go. If y'all have the opportunity to go there, I just couldn't like push more for you guys to go see that. But what was really cool, and I did not take pictures of this, and I'm just hitting myself in the head for not taking pictures of this, was that Jerusalem as we know it now is actually not the Jerusalem that you would read about in Psalms or from anything that David wrote in the Bible. Jerusalem is kind of on a hill, the modern day Jerusalem that we know now. But Jerusalem that we knew in the Bible was actually in this valley below the city. And it's crazy because we all thought that Jerusalem was one place, but it's actually in another, or at least the old city was. So part of what I did that day when I went to Jerusalem is see the city of David. And this is part of what I saw is open to the public. And part of what I saw was like this VIP celebrities tour. And I was like, ooh, I'm not a celebrity. I love this. I love the special treatment. So we got to go and the part that was kind of open to everybody was the excavation of how they found the city of David. And essentially what they did was they found these columns or these really original columns. And somebody, I believe it was a British guy that was digging in an archaeological dig, found these and was actually started to uncover the city of David as we knew it in the Bible. Super, super cool. And that was awesome. I really, really, really happy about seeing all of that, seeing the history of that, hearing about how we uncovered real Jerusalem, you know? But then the absolute coolest part came when we went underground and there's an ongoing excavation of the pathway. It's the original stone, the original rock that takes you from Old Jerusalem, like the original Jerusalem in the valley that I'm explaining, all the way up to what is the Temple Mount. It's this, which is the holiest site in Judaism. Again, this is now considered, it's now called the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We can't go there now, but the same stone that is right in front of the original entrance to what is now Al-Aqsa Mosque is found in Jerusalem, the old Jerusalem, at the bottom of this hill, okay? Which means there is 100% without a doubt, no doubt in any historians, archaeologists, regardless of their political, religious belief, 100% I walked on the same stones that Jesus Christ walked on to go from Jerusalem to the temple. It was the coolest thing in the world, right? At one point, I took my shoes off and I just wanted my bare feet to touch the stone because Jesus walked there. Guys, that is so cool. My mind was blown away. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was just touching everything. I couldn't get enough of it. Anyway, the second cool part that we got to see was at the time, Romans did occupy a lot of, if you've watched Chosen, you studied history, you know that Romans kind of were overseeing everything when Jesus was doing his ministry. But we also found coins, these really cool old coins that had different symbols on it. And so it was just really cool to see how the Jewish people lived and still traded with each other, even though they had like a Roman coin, a Roman sense of currency and everything. It just really was a cool opportunity. And I do believe that they're going to open this to the public. I saw a question from Alex saying, did I take a tour to do free roam? I took a tour. It was super cool. Again, feel free. My DMs are always open, y'all, if you ever have questions. I have an awesome tour guide. Her name is Franny. She was so cool, and she will definitely take you guys to see all of this. One thing I didn't get to see that I've seen in my previous trip to Israel was the Dead Sea. Such a cool experience. The only thing is I didn't realize how much it would burn. So I had like a cut on my arm and it burned so bad when I got in there. But it is a blast, guys. I mean, I just really encourage you guys to all take a trip over there if you can. Again, I did see like there were rockets being shot in the north and I mean offensive rockets being shot in the south. So I wouldn't encourage going there, but in the middle of the country, you're pretty safe. It's people will take care of you. It's a pretty cool experience. So I would definitely recommend you all see that. From there, I'm kind of just mumbling on. We did get to see Tel Aviv. That's kind of where we stayed every night. Tel Aviv. It is such a beautiful city. I went, honestly, I think I'm just going to share it on the internet. I don't care. I went clubbing, guys. Your girl was like, I don't really do that. I know I live in Nashville and everyone thinks I'm like, woo, woo, party girl. I'm really not. I like to hang at home with my dog. I enjoy a nice glass of wine, don't get me wrong. But in general, I'm just not a super big drinker anymore. I had my fun in college. It's time for me to move on, okay? No. I went to the club until like 4:30 in the morning and just had so much fun. The beaches of Tel Aviv are so cool. The parties are so like it was just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And then in typical tourist fashion, I had to get into the Mediterranean Sea and swim in the middle of the night. So that was super fun. That was kind of like around the end of the trip that I got to do that. Yeah, and then the last thing I did before I get into questions, I had some questions from you guys and then some questions from my Instagram followers that I wanted to answer. But I want to show you guys this is my last picture that I want to share with you guys. And it is from a Bring the Hostages Home rally. And I'm not going to cry over this one, I promise. It was very solemn, don't get me wrong, but there's this crazy square that they have right in front of in Tel Aviv, right in front of their museum, their IDF building, which is their military building, their main operational headquarters. The court is around there. It's kind of just this general square that is right now being used as an art exhibit to showcase the hostages. And so there are chairs lined up for all the hostages that need to come home. There are art exhibits that showcase some really cool things. There was one guy named Adon or Elad, I think his name is. And he was a gifted pianist, and he is still in Gaza to this day. And someone has a piano set up there for people to play and honor his memory. There's also a replica tunnel of what the underground tunnels in Gaza look like. Oh, goodness. I'll cry again. That one was emotional. But one of the coolest things that I got to experience was this. This is Adon well, this is Adon. And he is still a hostage in Gaza. He's 22, almost 23 years old. And he is from New Jersey. He's American. He came to fight for the Israeli Defense Forces couple months ago, and this was his host dad. This is not his dad. This is his host dad. And his host dad every day comes to this and tries to bring coverage, bring attention to the fact that not even his son, his host son, was taken and remains in Gaza. And so all of us came, we listened to his story. We got to learn about him, and we got to learn about what they go through. And this guy right here, I think this was a really fascinating story and warmed my heart. His, I believe, daughter was in, oh, actually, no. Yeah, it's his cousin or his niece. Sorry. His niece was a hostage in Gaza. She was released, one of the 4 that was somewhat recently released. And he promised, they made a promise, these two, that if whoever's child came home first, the other would still show up and make sure that the other was never alone. So this guy's niece is now back and safe in Israel. And this guy's host son is still in Gaza. And so he still shows up every day for his friend through all of this. And I thought that was a really beautiful story. There were moments when I wanted to cry, and I definitely did cry during his story. But overall, I found this to be truly one of the most heartwarming portions of my trip. So yeah, I'm going to look in the comments real quick and just see if you guys are saying anything before I get into comments. Again, people are asking what happened to Isabel. She did not change her face and hair. She's on her honeymoon, guys, and she can't wait to be back with you guys. Anyway, let's see. Someone said, did Jesus go to those same clubs? I don't think so. I don't know if the Lord was in those clubs, y'all. That's really funny. And Frostfang said, well, he certainly knew how to keep a party going, making more wine. Y'all are very funny. Very, very funny. All right, I'm going to get to some of the questions I got while I was posted on Instagram about this. Somebody asked me, what were you nervous going there with everything going on? Honestly, no. I kind of describe it as like, think about a city that's an hour away from you, and it's as bad as it is to say, like, imagine a SAS shooting happened there. It would be sad, it would be tragic, but it doesn't necessarily directly impact you. This does directly impact the people of Israel, don't get me wrong. But I wasn't afraid for my physical safety at any point. The only time I felt like scared was when I was at the Nova Music Festival. Israel was launching offensive rockets into Gaza. And again, I was told that, but there's something about hearing bombs and rockets go off around you that's just a little unnerving, you know? So I was never fearful of my safety, but I definitely felt my adrenaline spiked. Hence, again, why I ended up being able to go out, because I would never be able to do that. I would have been exhausted, but my adrenaline was so high from being around all these things that I think it just kind of kept me going. The next question I got was, what is the biggest cultural difference between the US and Israel? Really good question. I think the biggest cultural difference is the resiliency, right? And I don't want to speak out of turn about it. There's the American military men and women are like a different breed of human beings. I could never, literally could never. Okay. So I'm not saying that these people are included in that. I'm saying, generally speaking, myself included, I get teary-eyed about a simple inconvenience. I get irritated when something goes wrong in my life that is a minor inconvenience. The Israeli people are simply unbothered, okay? They have bigger problems to worry about. They have terrorists, okay? They don't have to. There would never be such crazy political strife. And the only time that they have seen crazy political strife is when they were at times of peace, you know? And I think it's just interesting because in America, we are so isolated. We don't really have to deal with big threats, although we should probably take some of these threats a little bit more serious. I mean, the Russian Navy is like right here. We should take some of this more seriously, but we don't. And we haven't lived through times of of tough war the way that Israelis do, and you could just tell there's a natural difference. I'll just compare the women. I won't even talk about the men. I felt like such a baby next to these women. They're so strong, they're so resilient, they're so unbothered by so many things. They care about real deep things while I'm out here like, I don't know, crying just looking at it, you know? So I don't want to come across as like shaming Americans, but at the same time, our culture, it was definitely a wake up for me that the things that are important in life are not the little things. They're the big things. And maybe sometimes it just takes going to a crazy different country and different culture, but that's definitely the biggest cultural difference I saw so far. Um, Other people asked me, how did the famous religious, or did you visit the famous religious sites in Jerusalem? Yes, I did. It was super cool. Again, I would love to visit Al Aqsa Mosque. I would love to just go in there and see it, but I was not privy to that. Oh, this is another thing. Someone asked, did I go to the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, and insert prayers? Yes, I did. It was a really cool experience. Again, it's the second time I've done it. But it was a very, very cool experience. I have a friend right now, God bless her, who is undergoing just a really difficult pregnancy and trying to get pregnant and everything. And so I was able to pray for her and I just felt so connected to the Lord. It was really, really cool. And there was another question that somebody asked me that, did I feel the presence of God? Absolutely. I mean, undeniably, from the moment I got on the plane, I felt this blanket of protection. Actually, in my bed the night before, I felt this blanket of protection over me. So I was never fearful. I knew that God was with me through all of this. Definitely knew that. And the final question I got, this feels like, this is funny. How many pride flags did you see in Palestine? I did not go to Palestine, but 0, because you know how that works. That is not a thing. I feel like, do I need to make this point that you can't be gay, you can't be you can't be any of those things in Palestine? It doesn't work that way. If you saw what I saw, you would know they're not a very tolerant people. That's certainly not what they're in favor of. But the point here is not to rail against the idiots on college campuses that believe that queers can be for Palestine. The point here was to show you guys what I saw, what I bore witness to, and hopefully convince you that you don't need to be in favor of military aid to be in favor of Israel. You just want to be in favor of allowing people to be safe and autonomous and live in a country that is historically accurately theirs, and to be against terrorists and terrorism. That's my only goal in all of this. And if you walk away feeling completely different, like Chrissy's a propagandist or whatever, that's fine. But I know what I saw. And if you have any questions about what I saw, I'm always going to be here to talk about it. I will never forget what I saw. And I hope you don't forget what you heard today either. But anyway, before I let you guys go, thank you so much for tuning in. But I do need to let you know that today's show was sponsored by Rough Greens. Traditional dog food totally lacks that nutrition that your dog, your four-legged friend, needs, okay? It's dead food. And dogs don't need dead food, okay? I have a wonderful, very happy, adorable, perfect little golden retriever named Harper, and he is very grateful for patriotic and healthy dog food companies like Rough Greens, okay? Basically, all you do is you add their powder to, or you add their product to your dog's existing food. So it's not getting a whole separate food. It's just adding. It's a little additive. And it has vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all the good things to help your dog be the healthiest pup he can possibly be. So you can get a free jumpstart trial at roughgreens.com. That is RUFF Greens, roughgreens.com. Get started there. You can get your trial bag there. Anyway, guys, that is all I have today. I will be back here tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about Brat Summer. If you guys have heard of this, apparently the moral compass is just died. It's dead. It died like a dog. Anyway, we're going to watch that and talk about that tomorrow, and I can't wait to see you guys there. All right. Bye, y'all.